Hello everyone. I wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to navigate the new navigation for the header in Squarespace 7.1. I've had some questions about resizing the logo specifically and also just making smaller adjustments, so I wanted to go through that in this video. So we'll start with just adding a logo first. So from this dashboard, I'll click Edit in the upper left. And then see, as I hover over the header, a button shows up to edit the site header. So I'll click on that now. And then this menu appears. So this is going to be our global settings. This is where we add our logo as site title and logo. I'll just drag and drop something that I have here because I don't really use a logo on my website. I generally just use this site title because that's really what my logo is. But this is kind of a variation of that. And you'll notice when I drop it in, it's really tiny. So it doesn't really show up. I'm going to go back. And then I will click on Elements. So to have this button appear, and this button is really important real estate on your website, this is going to be the place where you will want to put your #1 call to action of your website. So what's the point of you having a website? Why do you have a website? Is it to inspire your visitors to book a call with you, or to go to your shop, or to view your services, or to look at your blog because you're positioning yourself as an expert in your industry? What is the point of having the website? That's the #1 thing, the #1 goal, and you will put it here in this button. Okay, whatever page that is, you'll link to it. You'll make sure this button is enabled. Social links, pretty self-explanatory. You can adjust the size, you can turn them on or off. If you have a shop, it's nice to have the cart in the upper right. I do not currently, so I do not have my cart on. Another thing is if you have an online store, you can turn on your account login in your header, and then people that have shopped with you previously can log in, view their past orders, and just keep track of their order history. I'm going to go back now. And then colors. Colors, you're able to make your navigation transparent if that is what your website is using, or you can turn off the transparency and have a solid color of the background. And you can use any of your color variations. Notice that the background of my logo is not transparent, so I'll want to keep with a white background instead of using one of these dark colors. In a future video, I will go through a tutorial on how to remove the background of this, of a logo or of a picture, just so that it's a little easier to dive into in its separate video. So we'll go back. Fixed position is going to change how your navigation scrolls. So we can play with that a little bit. Right now it's set to scroll back. So let's hit save. And as I'm scrolling through, notice when I'm going down, the navigation disappears. But as I go back up, the navigation appears while I'm scrolling up. The other option is the basic. Basic is going to just kind of keep your navigation static the whole time. So you'll notice as I'm scrolling down, the navigation is still there. That can be a nice feature. It gives people easy access to other pages. However, you'll want to make sure that it's not a tall navigation. If the navigation is tall, that really takes up a lot of space while people are scrolling, and then they can't see what's actually on the page because this space is so thin and narrow. So I like the scroll back option best for me. I'm going to go back to the scroll back. I'll demo this first though, really quick, the fixed position. So we save that. And that means it's just going to stay right at the top no matter what I do. So that's really up to you. But again, I like the scroll back option because if people are at the bottom of the page, then the menu appears and that's less that they have to do. All right, perfect. So that's really it for global. We'll move on to the desktop. So until you add a logo, well, actually the logo sizing is not here right now. This happens sometimes, I have noticed. Let me see here. Okay, here we are. So Under the global settings, until you actually add a logo under site title and logo, you will not have these gauges here to change your logo height. The only way that you get these is if you add a logo. And sometimes you'll have to close out, save, come back in order to have these appear. Not always, but sometimes. So if you have added a logo and you don't see these things, then try to close out and save, and then come back in and you should see it. But you'll notice that as I drag this, my logo gets bigger, which is great, but my navigation is now quite large. So we're going to go back and we're going to click on desktop view here, scrolling down. Inset is going to bring in, watch the margins here. It's going to bring things in quite a bit. Full is the full bleed. That means it's going to go as far and as wide as it can, which I like to have all that space. I like spacing things out as much as possible. And then the vertical padding, this is what we will reduce in order to make this space less intense. So I'll drag that over and probably all the way across, because if you remember, the logo that I have right here has a white background around it. So that's kind of constraining this to its size as well. All right, so vertical padding has been reduced. Then we can look at element spacing. So what are the elements? An element is like this navigation menu. That's one element. The social links is another. And the button is another element. So I can adjust, hold on, I want to save this so I don't forget what it is. I'm going to adjust the element spacing. So notice how when I drag this out, these two items move apart from each other. If there was something next to this navigation, then those would also move apart. Okay, so I'll bring that back to what it was. And then link spacing will separate each individual link rather than the elements. So this is a link, this is a link, this is a link, 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 link. It's going to separate those a little bit further apart. See, when you drag, it just spreads everything out. So that's kind of nice if you want to spread things out. I think spreading things out can be good. And I'll explain that a little bit more in a second on the mobile version. I'll keep that back to where it was. Good, I'm happy with that. So now the logo is set there. Now let's look at the mobile version. So as you can see, this mobile version is now very, very small. So we can go back to the global settings, site title and logo. I'm going to click this phone view here. Sometimes it stays, sometimes it doesn't. Let's go. Yeah, okay, cool. So we have the global. So when we click the phone up here and we click global in the editor, we can go to site title and then it'll maintain this mobile view while we're adjusting the logo size for mobile. So I'm going to drag this over to the right. But once again, noticing that it made the menu quite large. And I could reduce the spacing on the logo itself before I load it around here in order to make this narrower so that when I do drag this wider, it's not going to make this bar huge. But the alternative is to have a different logo for your mobile and add that as a secondary logo. And you can design that in a way that fits better in this bar so that when you do make that change, you don't need to worry about the navigation getting wider. So I'm going to go to the phone here. There's not much that we can do as far as padding goes in here, and we've already reduced this vertical padding as far as we can for the desktop. So really it's up to the logo design when it comes to mobile as to how large this is going to get. So let's look at the header layout for logo. This is something that we can change. We can change the way that the logo is viewed, and notice that when I tap through different ones, it kind of changes the sizing of this menu as well. So it gets a little bit smaller. That one was bigger. So you can choose which one fits your needs more. Go back. I think I like that the best. Overlay menu. So that's when you click on your navigation button, the menu that shows up. So going back to link spacing, I like to have the link spacing and mobile be pretty far. Like as you can see here, I have it as wide as you can go. And that's because when you're on your phone, it's really easy to tap the wrong button. I'm sure it's happened to everyone where you have your mobile menu open, or even just a random link on a page and you're trying to click on it, but you can't because it's too small or it's too close to another link. So you have a hard time getting where you want to go. So you just want to be mindful about that. Make sure things have a lot of space to move. And then again, my background's white, so I can play with the colors to make it match so that it's not showing that white background. Or if you have a transparent background, then you can probably use whatever you want for your background design, anything that's conducive to your goal. All right, so that is how you go through and manage your website navigation for Squarespace 7.1. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to help.